Brown butter, sage, and sea salt? I'm not giving you a typical lemon bar. I'm giving you the best lemon bar you've ever had, and it's coming up on Bobby's Kitchen. Welcome back to the kitchen, guys. I may have jumped the gun a little bit with my desire for summer vibes, but we are at the peak of citrus season. It is February. February is a great time for citrus. I think it's a little gift Mother Nature gave us to make up for these dog days, and it does not seem to want to warm up out there. But today we've got lemon bars. I think a big favorite dessert for a lot of people, one of the best expressions of lemon dessert in my opinion. It's actually really simple to do, but so few of them are exactly right. And I feel like we've got this one exactly right. The curd is just so creamy, but it stands up. The crust stays crunchy. There's this addition of brown butter and sage in the crust, which really pops along with a little bit of sea salt. It's just everything you want in a lemon bar. I think you guys are really gonna love it. So let's get into it. First off, we're gonna start with our crust. Now I have a 9x9 inch baking dish here. Make sure we can see how I'm gonna do this. This is a piece of parchment paper on the bottom. I'm gonna show you a quick way to cut your parchment so it fits your pan. We want it to fit the pan and come up the edges so we can use it to lift the whole thing out at the end. Makes life a lot easier. So you take your pan first, spray the bottom and the sides. You might be wondering why spray the bottom if you're gonna put parchment. The spray will actually help the parchment stick in place, and it just makes everything a lot easier. Now my method of doing this is, make a little space. I'll take a marker and I'll trace the bottom of my pan. Hopefully that came out. Let's see, beautiful. Now first thing I'm gonna do is fold the paper along both edges. So our top edges and our side edges. We're gonna fold so we can see exactly where those are. Okay, we've pre-folded our paper. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut slits right up to the corner of the pan. And I'll go a little bit inside the pan as well, just because we know that that outline is just on the outside. So I'll take it to a little bit inside the pan. Same thing on the other side. Bit inside. Now you see, that allows us to fold this up. All right, now you can see from our lines here, we've got a ton of excess over here. So I'm just gonna get rid of a little bit because we don't need all that. It's not totally necessary, but just get it out of the way. Same thing on this side. So now we can fold this up into a square. Those sides overlap each other perfectly, and we're gonna put them into our sprayed pan. Press down. So we can see that once you press it in, that allows us to get a nice even fold all the way around. It's overlapping all the sides. Everything is neat and even, so we'll be able to get our crust in there with no issue. Pan is lined. We're gonna spray the top now. Just be extra sure nothing sticks. It always makes life easier. Why not do it? All right, oven is at preheating to 350. We'll set this aside. We're gonna bring in our burner and we're gonna make our crust. All right, our pan is on medium heat. We're gonna get our butter in. Just get that melting. Medium, because we want this to go kind of slow, not too fast. We're gonna brown this butter. And butter, you want it to brown slowly so that it doesn't burn and so that it has time to caramelize and develop all that wonderful flavor. I've got 8 whole sage leaves going right in. We're gonna let that infuse into the butter. This wonderful sage flavor just works so well with the lemon. It's really subtle, it's in the background, but it just makes the whole dish pop, and people will eat it and they won't like really know. They'll just be like, what is it about those lemon bars that was so good? It's that little bit of sage. Now we can see that butter is bubbling and foaming. That's exactly what we want. In order to brown butter, you have to first cook out the water. That bubbling is the water boiling out of the butter. So we're gonna cook it until that bubbling kind of stops. It's almost completely done. Then we'll turn to low, because that's the moment you want to go really slow and just let those milk solids caramelize without turning black. If they start to seem too deep brown, you kill that heat immediately. Stirring occasionally to keep everything cooking evenly. We can see the foaming has mostly subsided now, but we still have bubbling. Since we have sage in here, the bubbling will never completely stop because there's still water cooking out of the sage. So you won't be able to judge by a completely stopped bubbling, but you'll see this butter turning brown. Starting to see a little bit of brown. It might be hard to see on camera. Browning nicely. Now I'm gonna pull my sage out, get it out of the way. It's given up its flavor. Looking very good, brown, just how I want. You can definitely see it on camera now, killing the heat. And I'm gonna add my salt and sugar immediately to bring that temperature down so the butter doesn't continue to burn. Now I'm going in with my flour. I like to add the flour to the hot butter. A little bit of heat will break down the proteins just a bit. I'm not making a pot au choux. I'm not gonna super cook this flour, but a little bit of heat will break down the proteins somewhat and make the crust extra tender. Now you may see that I saved my sage leaves on a paper towel. They're nice and crispy. I like to sprinkle them with a little salt and serve them up as a snack. It's just a great little extra that you can have. All right, so we can see that this is super crumbly right now. We haven't added any water yet. We're gonna do that right now, right at the end. It only takes a tablespoon. Spread it around. Stir it in. That'll start to form a dough. It'll immediately start to clump up. You can see that when I compress it with the back of my spatula, it'll look like it wants to stick together. That's exactly what we want. And that crust is done. We're gonna get it into our pan, press it out, and it's gonna go right in the oven. We are gonna get this dough turned out into our prepared pan. It's still hot. You can wait for it to cool if you want. If you have chef's hands, you could maybe get in there and work it. I'm gonna show you a little trick I use to work with hot ingredients when I still want some dexterity. I start out with a pair of these cotton gardening gloves. These things are disposable, but you can use them a bunch of times. They come in packs of like 50 or whatever. Throw on the cotton gloves and then a pair of latex gloves over the top. So the cotton is an insulation and the latex makes them waterproof, but they're not so thick that you can't work with your hands. I use these when I'm working with barbecue, all kinds of stuff. Anytime you got to get your little fingers hot, but you want to still be able to hold and maneuver things, this is a fantastic way to do it. Once you get rid of the outside gloves, you can reuse the cotton glove. Let's get into our pan with our dough. All right, as we can see, very crumbly. That is what we want. That's exactly how it should be. We just start to press it down and it'll stick together. We're gonna spread it out to all corners of the pan. Turn as you go. Make sure you get it all the way to the corners. Get in there with your fingertip. And once you have it spread out, use the palm of your hand and flatten everything. You want it to be as even as possible, It's not the end of the world, but a nice even surface is gonna make your curd sit evenly, and each slice will be the same. And the pressure is gonna help to pack all those pieces together. So we have a nice homogeneous crust. I like to go around and just kind of make sure it's not riding too far up the edges. Now we have a nice even crust. We're gonna prick it all over with a fork so it doesn't puff up too much in the oven. All right, that looks good. You can take these gloves off now. Last but not least, I'm gonna hit this with a little bit of sea salt. I've got some French fleur de sel. I'm just gonna use it here. That's my whim for the day. You can use Maldon. Any kind of chunky sea salt is great. I like it chunky here. Yes, when the curd goes on top, it will melt so much, but it'll melt into little pockets of salinity so that when you bite into it, there'll be little pops of salt that really just add a texture and a flavor you don't get otherwise. Nothing crazy. We're not trying to make too salty of a dessert, just a little sprinkle over the top, couple pinches. Yeah, just about like that. This is going into the oven. We got it at 350, 20 to 25 minutes until it's golden brown all over. Really only a 3-step process here. We made the crust. Now while that's baking, we're gonna make our curd. Then we'll fill the crust with the curd. That'll bake off and it'll be done. It really is very easy, guys. Just a little bit of know-how and it's gonna come out to be the best lemon bar. So I'm gonna start off with some sugar and a little bit of salt. some flour. I'm using AP flour. You can use gluten-free if you are gluten-free, that works too. Oh, I had my salt over here. A little bit of salt right here. I also, you might be able to see, have a little bit of turmeric in there. You can see that yellow guy. Turmeric is not here for flavor, it's here for color. There's something about just a really bright lemon bar. You know, we eat with our eyes, and that little bit of turmeric, you won't be able to taste it, but you will be able to see the difference. It's really gonna make these pop and look so yellow and beautiful. I love that. One last thing. This is cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is an acid. It's a powdered acid. And the reason we're using that is because we are gonna up the acidity here, but we don't want to add more lemon juice because our curd will be thin. So this powdered acid is going to make it nice and puckery tart without thinning out our curd, which is a really nice thing. Let me just get that combined. The heat is not on right now. 3 eggs and 3 egg yolks. I'll start out with just eggs. Three. So when I separate yolks from whites, got our pot next to it. Just crack the edge, hold it up and split it. That'll let the white drain out. Just move back and forth until you just have yolk right there. That goes in your pot. Leave the white behind. You can save the white for egg white omelets. You can use it to make meringue, whatever you want to do. The reason we do 3 yolks and we take 3 whites out is several reasons. 1, we don't want it to taste too eggy, and that sulfury egginess comes from the whites. And 2, we just want to make it richer and more smooth and yellow and all of those lovely desserty things which the yolks do. So we have those in. I'm going to give this a quick whisk, get everything incorporated. Now, part of what makes this taste so lemony is the zest from the lemon. Not just the juice, we are using the juice, but also the zest. The zest is that outside of the peel, none of the white, just the yellow part. The yellow is full of lemon oil. It brings tons of lemon flavor to this dish and color, but you don't want to get the white because the white is very bitter. So just the outside, use one of these fine graters, and you should be able to see, show you. You can see the white there. I just took the yellow part off of the white without taking the white with it. Want the zest of 4 lemons, and then it'll be the juice of about 6 or 7, just to get us up to the 7 ounces that we need of juice. But the zest of only 4 lemons is all we need. All our juice and zest is in. Get that whisked till it's thoroughly combined. Now guys, the scary part. Cooking this curd. Everybody gets nervous about cooking a curd. There's eggs in there, they can scramble. It's not that scary. We're gonna use medium heat. Nothing too high. We don't wanna go so fast that we do scramble. Rubber spatula, because that will bring everything evenly off the bottom of the pan. Nothing will get stuck to the bottom. We'll just start to stir. We are going to keep stirring. We're going to stir until our curd comes together. It's going to take a little while for it to heat, so don't go crazy at first. Don't wear yourself out. Just keep it in motion so that it's even and nothing is sticking to the bottom and curdling on the bottom of the pan. Nice light stir. We're going to bring this up until it just begins to thicken. You will see the change. It thickens between 160 and 165 degrees. Now, if you have a thermometer, like a probe thermometer or a laser thermometer like this, you can take the temperature as you go. Let's see, right now we're at 106. You can take the temperature as you go, which is a nice little thing just so you'll know when you're getting close, but you absolutely do not need it. You will be able to go by sight. You'll be able to see as you hit that 160, 162, it starts to get in that range. It will immediately thicken, and as soon as you see that happen, just shut the heat off. Shut the heat off and keep stirring. As long as you kill the heat, once it thickens, You keep stirring for 30 seconds to a minute just to let it cool down evenly so that you don't get any hot spots on the bottom. You'll have a completely smooth curd. Of course, we have a bunch of lemon peel in there, which is gonna make our curd not smooth, but the trick is that before you put it on the crust, you're gonna put it right through a fine mesh strainer that will take all the peel out and just leave that flavor behind. Perfectly smooth curd. Just for science sake, let's give this a temp check. Looks like we got 151. We're getting close, guys. Right there. I knew I was starting to feel just a little bit of viscosity, which is what we want. Now this is the point where I make sure I keep it in motion because we are approaching 160. Like I said, 160 to 165 is where you thicken. Oh, it's starting to feel pretty thick now. Very careful now. I'm gonna keep my heat on low, very low heat for this last part. Let's just bring it up the rest of the way. It's pretty thick. I want it to get just a touch thicker. That's looking exactly where I want it to be. All right, I can see it sticking to the sides of the pan. It's thick. It's looking like a custard. I keep stirring at this point to let it cool down evenly. The bottom of that pan is still hot, so you don't want the bottom of this curdling. And even cool, 30 seconds, maybe a minute. Let that pan come down. We killed that heat. We got some cold butter going right in. Cold butter is in and we'll just use the residual heat to melt it through. That'll also help to bring the temp down of our curd and we'll be ready to go. Butter is fully melted. Curd is smooth and beautiful. Let's give her a taste. You gotta get a taste. Wow, that is spectacular. So lemony, buttery, smooth, creamy, rich. Everything I want from a lemon curd. It's gonna match beautifully with that brown butter sage. It's gonna be the perfect lemon bar. Maybe you weren't perfect. Maybe you didn't keep it in perfect motion and there's a few little lumps in there. When we pass it through this fine strainer, that'll strain those right out and we'll have a perfect curd. Our crust is about to be done. This is all gonna come together beautifully. No wait time. Let's do it. I almost forgot, guys. My particular go-to step, a little bit of Italian limoncello. It's a lemon dessert and I'm Italian. How can I not put it? I picked this one up last time I was in Italy. It's delicious. It's very sweet, very lemony. I'm just gonna do a ½ ounce right into our curd after it's off the heat. Now this is gonna go into the oven so the alcohol will bake out. There are flavors that are alcohol soluble, that are not fat soluble or water soluble. That will bring out more flavors in the lemon curd. It will add flavor from the limoncello, make it more lemony. It's just a beautiful thing to have. Little ½ ounce. You can absolutely leave it out if you don't have any and if you don't want to pick any up. They sell it at most liquor stores, but if you don't want, just leave it out completely. It'll be totally fine. It's just a little extra that I do. Crust is done. Golden brown all around. Beautiful, exactly what we wanted. Oh, little pops of sea salt. It smells so good. Brown butter and sage, that nuttiness of the brown butter and the richness, and then just that beautiful smell of sage. I love it. I think this is an amazing way to do it. We don't have to wait for this to cool. We're gonna get the curd right on top. Like I said, we'll strain it, get it back into the oven. Let me find my strainer. Just a fine mesh strainer like this. We'll get out all the little bits. You know, this is part when it really helps to have someone here. You don't have to have someone here, but I'm having my wife come hold this strainer just off camera.
Off camera?
Right over there.
I'm only using this camera, right?
Just so that I can get two hands working the strain or working the pot. Get it all in there. My lovely assistant has done her job. I'm gonna push this through the strainer with my spatula. All of that zest will get caught by the strainer. You can see that's all just zest with some sugar on it, of course, but not much will be left behind. Give it a little squeezy squeeze. And that's what we got left. Just the zest. I'm gonna rinse my spatula off. Here's why. I want any excess zest that was on my spatula not to get in when I scrape the bottom. And you gotta scrape the bottom because a lot will stick to it. A little shake just to make sure everything's even, and it is. We're going right back into our 350 oven, 10 to 15 minutes until it's barely jiggly. A little bit of jiggle is fine, it will set as it cools. Barely jiggly in the middle, Slightly, only slightly puffed around the edges. You want to avoid it browning at all on top. All right, been about 15, guys. Let me hold this up so you can see. Just a touch of jiggle in that center. Just left over because the residual heat will cook that through and we don't want to overcook it. You can hopefully see there's just a little bit of raised, a little bit of puffiness around the edges. That jiggle is just in the very middle. It's perfect, no brown on top, golden yellow. It smells so lemony, buttery, great in here. Now we have to let it cool. Lemon bars cannot be served warm. They have to come down at least to room temperature. You can pop them in the fridge. I don't want to blast my fridge, so I like to leave them on the counter. It usually takes about 2 hours for them to come all the way down. Make sure you let them cool completely before you cut them though. Otherwise you're gonna have a sloppy mess on your hands. We're gonna wait 2 hours. We'll be back and we're gonna give these bad boys a taste. We're back, we are cool. Everything, of course, is cool when you're about to eat lemon bars. Very excited about this. These are looking beautiful, guys. I mean, look at this. It's so bright, it's so vibrant. It's just glowing, and the flavor is absolutely fire. Super, super lemony, super delicious. I tasted some of the curd before we went into the oven. I'm really excited to try this. I love the taste of this sage and sea salt and brown butter crust. It matches perfectly with that ultra bright lemon curd. Let's get a little powdered sugar on top. It just helps to finish off the top and it makes it so you can kind of handle them a little bit better. They're not as sticky. So I just got a little sifter here. Put some powdered sugar in, give it a tap. Just sift it over the top. Just want to have a little snow-like coating. If you're serving these immediately, you do this right away. If you're not serving them till later, you're gonna rest them in the fridge. Don't rest them at room temperature. They get kind of gooey if you rest them at room temperature. So rest them in the fridge covered, and then put the powdered sugar on last, right before you serve them. If you're gonna serve one piece at a time, powder sugar it one piece at a time before you serve it. That looks pretty good to me. All right, so we put this little parchment in here so that we could lift it out. Piece of cake. Bango. I leave it here on the counter while I cut. Just think it makes things easier. That's crazy. As soon as you peel the parchment off, you smell that brown butter sage crust. It just comes wafting out. It's gorgeous. Oh man, you can't, I don't want to lift it up and crack it, but I want to like show you the cross section if you can see right there. Beautiful golden crust, beautiful yellow curd, everything we want, everything we want. Oh, I almost broke it, be careful. I'm playing fast and loose. All right, we're gonna cut this. I'm gonna cut it into 16. I think that's pretty good for, you know, like, it's very rich, it's very sweet. You can cut it into 9 if you want to get decadent, but I'm gonna go 16 right now. I'm always terrible at making things even. We'll do our best. Let's see how it goes. We got them laid out here. They are looking beautiful. Get a look in here. Can you see that gorgeous curd? That brown butter crust? Oh man, you can't see the sage, but you're gonna taste it. I'm gonna go in. That's a lemon bar, baby. So lemony, so bright. That color is so bright and yellow. A little bit of that turmeric. Yeah, little trompe l'oeil, little deception, but it brings out that beautiful yellow color. Those egg yolks, so much richness. A little bit of cream of tartar to up the brightness of it, but the lemon comes through so strong. And then the brown butter sage crust. Nobody's made a lemon bar like that. You've never had a lemon bar with a brown butter sage crust, sea salt on top, making everything pop. I mean, that's the best lemon bar right there. Look at it again. Look at that curd. Get it in focus. Look at how creamy, rich, bright, everything you want. Everything you want in a lemon bar. It comes in, it's Fix approved, guys. It's Fix approved. It's a little decadent, but it is still remains Fix approved. You can even make it gluten-free if you want. One of the best lemon bars I've ever had in my life. I think you guys are gonna love it. All of the recipe instructions, all of the ingredients, and the containers are in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. Please make it. Please post a picture of it to social media, hashtag it Bobby's Kitchen. I want to see what you're cooking up. I think this might be our best recipe yet. See you next time.